One thought that comes to my mind, and maybe it's the nature of the times that we are in. The world is moving away from globalization and inclusion to more of nationhood. We are seeing this in US right now. We are seeing this in many other parts of the world, and we are seeing it in India because we're talking about Atmanirbhar Bharat, and we're talking about so Make in India. So what I was reading is that we cannot leave this to the government or the governments because they are focused on too many things which are good, hopefully which are good for the country. And also given the fact that organizations are becoming larger and larger, and the heft that they have and the resources that they manage in many cases are even larger than some of the countries. So do you think it's time for the organizations to take the leadership and drive this agenda rather than leaving it to the Supreme Court? Or I don't know whether it is possible, but maybe it's a hypothetical question. What role should organizations play in making D&I happen?
Maybe if I can go on that, Suresh.
Yes.
But I think organizations have a huge role to play. Obviously, I think the role has to come from different places, right? There is legislative change required. There could be infrastructural, aspects at a country level. So it's required at different levels, whether it's, judiciary or the executive. But organizations have a huge role to play, right? In today's world, I think the role of the private sector is going to become bigger and bigger with the whole asymmetry that's happening in the world. I think we have such a big chance to, I wouldn't want to use the word influence, but to actually get everyone who's coming into a workplace to think about value systems, right? I mean, Parmesh spoke about how, we are all products of, decades of instilling certain thoughts, right? I mean, very often, I may think I'm extremely open-minded and my children convince me that I'm not. They make me realize that no, I'm so much a product of value systems that have been instilled into me over the years, right? And maybe I don't even question many of them. And as we have, our organizations are a melting pot. You have, so many different generations, you have people from so many different backgrounds, and then which are there. And as organizations, if you can help people to understand, let's question some of these value systems, right? We can still hold traditions dear, but why should we assume certain things? As simple as, the use of gender in something, right? It's always like he or she, maybe something as simple as that, right? Why do we assume that flexibility is required only for women employees, right? So I think we can do a big role in terms of just helping workforce that come in, just think about creating a more equitable and inclusive society, and just think about the impact that could have. Because then it is, young workforce come in, you help them think about these things, they raise their children differently. I think we have a huge responsibility and we cannot shirk away from it.
Exactly.
So we have to focus on it.
Parmesh, you want to say something?
Yeah, I think it is vital that organizations work with other stakeholders in multiple ways. And we saw post-COVID, right? We saw so much of the relief only happened when there was corporate money and intent alongside the NGO network on the ground, but alongside the government infrastructure and enablement that actually happened so much of this relief, that actually made this relief work happen so that relief could reach marginalized sections of society, right? I think the future is contingent on everyone working together and all of us, in a sense, understanding that we are all stakeholders in solving some of our planet's great issues. If we don't work together, we will not, on climate change, we will not have a planet. Then what is the point of selling shoes or now anything that Reliance is doing, whether groceries or oil or PwC or whatever we do at Godrej? We're all going to die because there won't be any planet. So we have to work together. So I think it's fundamental that we stop thinking that we are siloed stakeholders, understand that only when we collaborate are we going to have any chance of success. Now, there's two ways I think that companies can collaborate with other stakeholders, right? Especially government. I think, because to me, I think the governments are the key, national and state level. Even in terms of employment, all the talk we do on D&I in our private sector is nothing if we can, in terms of the D&I that is possible in the public sector, right? I mean, so I think companies need to do two things. One is we really need to collaborate with state and national governments on multiple projects in different ways to push for the change that we want to see. We can do this by role modeling excellence in our own organizations, showcase it to them. So many times we have advisory capacities, and that's my second thing, right? How can we nudge various governments to adopt some of these best practices? Because we are parts, I mean, I think in the world we live in, I think corporations have more negotiation or influence with state and national level governments than NGOs and other well-meaning stakeholders in society. So I think how we use that position to say, this is why climate change is important. This is why LGBTQ rights are important. This is why we need to create these laws that protect women and so on, right? So I think it's very vital for our own success, but also for larger societal success that we